Hello everybody, I'm Maria and welcome back to my Nook. Today we're going to do something a bit different. I have been watching a couple of these tier ranking videos lately. The first one I've ever watched was by Katie is Reading, and since then I've watched a couple of others that have randomly popped up on my YouTube page. And now I've thought, why don't I just make one myself? Because they do seem so much fun. So I thought I'm going to rank all of my 5-star reads today. And first of all, I want to mention that in case you can hear any sort of noises in the background, that is my laptop casually fighting for her life. I don't know why, because she's not even that old yet, but anyway, I'm going to be ranking all of the books that I have given 5 stars up until this point in time where I'm filming this video right now, which is a lot, I've realized. I went through the list of all my 5-star reads and I realized that it's like 27 books, if I remember correctly. And that is not quite half of the books I've read, but I think a good third probably. And I don't know how to feel about that, frankly. Like, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But I think we're just going to jump right into it now. So I've got this little tier thingy set up here, and I have set up the categories. First of all-time faves. Those are going to be the books that are my all-time faves, meaning that I gave them 5 stars and I would still give them 5 stars because I still love them so much. I'm still obsessed with them, still thinking about them, that sort of thing. Then I've got solid 5 stars, which basically means that I gave them 5 stars, I still think they're 5 stars, I stand by that, end of sentence. Next category is 5 stars for what it is, and those are probably going to be the books that are hard to compare with other books, for example, graphic novels, short stories, or novellas, or maybe even books that I have read a long time ago, or something like that. We will see. Then I've got need to reread. Those are going to be the books that I have probably read a long time ago, maybe even as a kid, and that I've potentially rated 5 stars in retrospective and should probably reread to see if I would still give them 5 stars. And the last category is questionable choice, and those are going to be the books where I gave them 5 stars after I read them, but now I might think, what was I thinking at all? I don't even know if any of the books are going to land in that category, but we'll see. Let's just start with the first book that is popping up, and that is What If by Randall Munro. That is definitely going into the all-time faves category. That book is a non-fiction book, and I read it over the course of quite a couple of months because I read it just here and there a bit, and that book was just so interesting and so funny as well. I loved it so much. I would give it 5 stars all over again, and honestly I kind of feel like rereading it. But I have so many other books to read at the moment, so I don't know about that. Next book in line is As Good as That, and that's actually the 3rd book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. So let's see where the first book is here. Good Girl's Guide to Murder, still one of my all-time fave books. I love that book so much. It was the 4th book, I think, that I read last year in 2022, when I was just starting out to get back into reading after a multiple years long reading slump. So reading was a special thing still for me at that point. As a kid, I had been a huge reader, and then I didn't read for a long time, and now I was reading again. So just the excitement this book gave me was just uncomparable, honestly, and I loved it so much. So all-time faves it is. The second book in the series, Good Girl Bad Blood, honestly, I'm going to put it in the solid 5 stars because I feel like it wasn't as good as the first book in my opinion, but I still really enjoyed that book. The whole series is one of my favorite series overall, but just the second book, you know, not as good as the first, so solid 5 stars. And I think that's the same for the third book, As Good as That. It's a solid 5 stars, but maybe not my all-time fave, even though the whole series is an all-time fave. The little novella, Killjoy, that is the prequel to the series, I think I'm going to put it into the 5 stars for what it is category, because it is only a novella and it's like 100 pages long. So I don't know if I can judge it the same way I can judge the full novels, you know what I mean? Next up, we've got The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and I think I'm going to put this into the all-time faves category. It was the first book I ever read by Ali Hazelwood, and I still remember the feeling that book gave me. Just immaculate. I mean, if I genuinely still remember the feeling that book gave me and the way I felt while reading it, that's something, honestly. So one of my all-time faves for sure. Now we've got something interesting because this is the first book in the Laura series by Peter Freund, and I think I'm going to put that one into the need to reread category because this is a book that I read as a kid, and when I say as a kid I mean 2013, 2014-ish. So I was like 12, if I remember correctly, or maybe 13. It's been a long time ago. I did reread that book in 2017, except for the very last chapter. Don't ask me why, it's a long story, but I'm counting it as a full reread, okay? But still, 2017 was almost 6 years ago by now, that reread. So I should probably still reread it to see if I would still give it 5 stars. And that actually counts for the whole series. Let me pull up the other books. This is the second one, the third one, the fourth one. Where are the others? 5th and 6th. There's actually a 7th book in the series, but I haven't read it yet. And that's another thing why I probably need to reread those books so I can read the 7th book at some point. That's also a long story, honestly. I didn't really think about star ratings at that age. So when I got into rating books, I think it was last year or maybe 2021, I gave them all 5 stars in retrospective because of nostalgia, and I knew I had loved them so much as a kid, but I don't know if I would still give them all 5 stars if I would read them today. That sort of thing. Now we've got Beach Read by Emily Henry, and that is definitely one of my all-time favorites. It was the first book that I read in 2022, and that one got me back into reading. Simply for that, it's got a special place in my heart. And same as with The Love Hypothesis, I still remember the way that book made me feel. What's also a special thing is this book that comes up next. It's I'm going to put it into the 5 stars for what it is category, because that one is a book that a friend of mine had gifted to me, and it's basically a book about all sorts of behind the scenes stuff about the BBC Sherlock series. It was really interesting for a fan of the show, aka me, but there's just it just is what it is. So it definitely belongs in that category. If any book belongs in that category, it's that one. Now we've got the Laini Taylor duology, and it starts with Strange the Dreamer, so I'm going to pull that one up first into all-time favorites. I loved it so much. Laini Taylor's writing is just immaculate. It was so good. I had such a good time with this duology. Same with Muse of Nightmares, the sequel. Now we've got A Darker Shade of Magic. Oh, all-time favorites for sure. That book was the first book by V.E. Schwab I ever read, and I instantly fell in love with it. Just a couple of days ago, I picked it up from my bookshelf and kind of flipped through a bit, and I was like, gosh, I still know how I felt when I was reading this, and it was such a good time. Now we've got The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. All-time faves, honestly. I just love that book so much. I'm a science girly, frankly, and romance paired with science, give it to me. Give it to me. Now we've got another Sherlock book. Are you surprised? I hope you're not. This one was a graphic novel, so I think it belongs in the 5 stars for what it is category. It was a beautiful graphic novel. Now we've got 3 more Ellie Hazelwood books. Actually, we've got 4 more. Let's just cover those real quick, right? So we've got Under One Roof, which is a novella, so I'm going to put it in the 5 stars for what it is category. It's a novella. It was, I think, about 120 pages or something like that. Same with Stuck With You and Below Zero. The thing is just, with novellas, you never really have as much time to spend with the characters as you do in full novels. So I really enjoyed them because I just love Ellie Hazelwood's writing, but again, they're novellas, so for what they are, they're 5 stars. And now we've got Love on the Brain, and I'm going to put that one into the solid 5 stars. Because again, I love Ellie Hazelwood's writing style, and anything that's to do with science and romance in the science field, give it to me. I want it. I mean, there was a questionable plot point in the book, but aside from that, I just really loved it. And now we've got My Mess is a Bit of a Life by Georgia Pritchett. And gosh, where am I going to put that one? That one was a memoir, and I really did enjoy it. It kind of gave something to me in a way that it made me feel seen and heard. It just really added something to my life, basically. Writing memoirs is so difficult, I feel like. It's the first memoir I've ever read, and I've heard from other people that sometimes writing memoirs can be a bit difficult because you are reading about the life of a person. It's not fictional, you know what I mean? But I think I'm going to put this into the solid 5 stars category. Now we've got Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. That one is actually the second book in a duology, and the first book, The Savage Song, is not on here because I gave it only 4.5 stars. To be fair, it was really close to 5 stars, but just not quite. But honestly, the duology as a whole is a 5 stars in my mind. To be fair, this one is the most recent of these books, so that's probably the hardest one to judge. Let's keep going, 2 books to go. Now we've got another Sherlock book, and I'm going to put it into 5 stars for what it is as well, because this one was basically a small advent calendar. It was really small, it was like this big. It basically consisted of 2 short Sherlock Holmes novels, original Sherlock Holmes novels by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and each of the stories was divided into 12 chapters, so you were able to read 1 chapter every day in December until it's Christmas. Like an advent calendar, just that you're reading 1 chapter of a story every day instead of getting chocolate or something like that, you know? So it was really cute. I really enjoyed it. There were small illustrations in it, but just small advent calendar, you know? So for what it is, 5 stars. And now last but definitely not least, The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. I'm going to put this... Am I going to put it into need to reread? I read this book in 2019, so I read the book and I really loved it back then. I should probably still reread it in order to know whether or not I would still give it 5 stars. I mean, I can give a book less than 5 stars and still really love it. So that's what I'm kind of getting at. Maybe I should reread it to see if maybe it's only 4.5 stars or something like that. You know what I mean? But anyway, as I sort of predicted, none of the books landed in the questionable choice category, which is good, I think. I mean, it either means that I am confident in my taste, or it just means that my taste doesn't change at all. But to be fair, I already mentioned this, but I read a lot as a kid and then I didn't read at all for quite a lot of years, and then I started reading again in 2022. So most of these reads are really from last year, and I don't think my tastes would change a lot since last year, you know what I mean? Especially because I've only started to really get to know my taste last year in books, like my adult taste in books. And the books that I read a longer while ago did land in the need to reread category. I think that was quite interesting and a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed that. But now I also need to drink something because I've been talking for like, I think over 20 minutes, almost 30 maybe even. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video as well. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up, perhaps subscribe to my channel or follow me on Instagram. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of the books that I have mentioned in this video. If not, just let me know what you're currently reading, how you're doing, or really anything you want to tell me. Other than that, I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Bye!